All right, taping this. It's almost 8:15 Pacific time. Just watch Bucks Nets. Chris Ryan is here. The history of great game fives in the NBA playoffs. For some reason, it's usually when the teams are 2-2. You can remember the iconic ones by one thing that happened. The steal, Bird and Isaiah, 1987. I made a little list. 2019. That's when KD Toronto, when he hurt the Achilles, all the drama from that game. 2018, Rockets beat the Warriors. Chris Paul gets hurt, becomes the Chris Paul game. 93, Charles Smith game. 07, LeBron 48. 84 finals, Heat game. 2005 finals, Horry game. 97 finals, flu game. 2010, Suns Lakers, the Artest game. 2006 finals, the Bennett Salvatore game. 1976 finals, triple OT game. 1980 finals, Kareem gets hurt, comes back game. 2010 Eastern finals, the LeBron, what the F is going on with him against Boston game.
Right.
86, Sampson. And now, Chris Ryan, the Kevin Durant game. I don't know if he had a game before. I think this is it. It is the Kevin Durant game.
And you guys were just talking on Sunday night. You and Ryan were talking about, well, they're going to need him to go nuclear. They're going to need him to be the Robert Patrick Terminator and come back and be liquid and run through flames. And that's what he did for the entire game. Didn't sit a minute and seemed to get stronger as the game went on. I guess their game plan was like, as long as we can keep this within touching distance, we're going to make one big push in the second half. And yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's like, I know that Durant just did something incredibly special, but I cannot get over how apoplectic I would be if I was a Bucks fan.
And I can't wait to talk about that. So the Rucker Park KD, that whole thing, the summer, I think of 2009 or 10, and he had 66, and he went into Rucker Park mode. It was awesome. I wrote down after 3 quarters, he was at 29, 15, and 8. I was like, those are some good stats. I wonder where he's going to end up. He ends up at 49, 17, and 10. He had 20 points in the fourth quarter, 16 for 23, 13 for 16 from the line. And as you said, he played all 48 minutes. This is a guy who almost 2 years ago to this week blew out his Achilles. I have been riding for this for a while. Play my best dudes. Game like this, 43 minutes, 44 minutes, maybe steal little minutes here and there. Nash was like, fuck it. I've been in games like this. KD, you're staying out there. It was just, to me, like the shot making, the creativity, the clutch shit, that play, the biggest play of the game.
The
Harden
one that
has that awful possession.
Yeah. The Harden screwing up the shot clock at half court, and then Durant coming in and saving it like that. And oh my God, I just can't. It was also it was sort of cool because I think that this season, both because the main three of Brooklyn missed so much time, they haven't played that many games together, is that at various points it was a different person's team. And you could just feel with Brooklyn in the building for that game. And you could just see that was like a March Madness crowd or something. That was such an amazing moment to watch him get that as the leader of that Brooklyn team. And it was I think that everybody saw that they were witnessing something special. The problem is that the only person who didn't, it was Bud. The only person who wasn't what's the emergency? I have to pull the lever was Bud.
Yeah, well, I would throw James Harden in there as well. He had some pretty bizarre moments. Yeah. I can't wait to talk about him either. What's interesting about Durant, so he wins the 2 titles with Golden State, and he has some great head-to-head stuff with LeBron, and the 2 game threes in Cleveland were both really good games, and he hits the big shot in both of those games. 2019 felt like that was going to be his year, where it's I kind of already was the best player in the league, but now I'm really laying the smack down. He ends up getting hurt and it gets taken away from him. I wasn't sure if we were going to see it again. He's never had a game this special and a moment this special in his entire career. And to me, that's crazy because I think he's one of the best 15 players ever. I think he's the best player right now. But now we have the little ribbon to put on it. We have the one game we can point to. And by the way, if they win this series with the big 3 of him, Blake Griffin, and Jeff Green.
Oh my God, Uncle Jeff.
I wasn't expecting that to be the new big 3, Chris Ryan.
Jeff Green going Reggie Miller in the Garden I was not ready for that.
He had 5 threes in the first 3 quarters. And basically, if he went 2 for 5, they're down by 20 plus and the game's over.
Yeah, and
Like he has to hit all 5 of those.
And I guess they were like relatively open, but it wasn't like he was like by himself on an island. Like he was playing within the flow of the game. I was really surprised to see Harden out there the entire game, essentially as a decoy. But I would love to like actually rewatch that game just to see what kind of like ripple effects his presence had, both on like their defense, but also on like how it set up other guys. Because I think he was making passes in this game that they were not making in the game previous.
And for some reason gave Durant an extra amount of confidence that I'm not sure Tyler Johnson is going to give him. Harden was, statistically horrific in this game.
It was performance art out there.
Eye test wise was also pretty bad. He finished the game. He had, 5 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 turnovers. He was 1 for 10, 0 for 8 from 3. All of them were short. He had no lift at all. And had kind of a bad habit of when I don't know whether Durant was tired near the end there, last 4 minutes, where all of a sudden he wasn't touching the ball at all and stuff was running through Harden. There was some Landry Shamet and it was like, where's Durant? I know we're defending him a little bit differently, but it felt like tonight the only guy who could stop Durant was James Harden by being sloppy with the ball and doing dumb shit.
Once they had Harden bringing the ball up towards the end of the game, and they went away from getting a really high screen for Durant's guy and letting Durant go downhill. Now, we kind of saw that a little bit with LeBron in that Suns game where it was like, oh man, if LeBron's just going to go coast to coast every time, there's nobody on the Suns who can pick him up, but you just run out of gas. So I do think that like Durant at a certain point was like, I can't do this 45-foot drive anymore. Like I'm going to have to come down from off the baseline and go off a couple screens to get a shot here.
Well, and then on top of it, it wasn't like he was a DH. He's also their rim protector on defense. Listen, that was in the running for best two-way games I think I've ever seen anyone play. I don't know. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared at 8:19, 10 minutes after the game ended to give my complete list, but I'd find it hard pressed to remember somebody playing a more memorable, important, clutch two-way game with their season on the line, right? Because if they lose this, the series is over. They're not winning in Milwaukee. It's not happening.
You have to make an argument. You can make an argument that it's an elimination game either way. Because I can't really see Milwaukee beating them twice. So it's like now you're in a situation where you're coming out of this game and you have all of this leverage over the other team. Yeah, the two-way play was amazing. I actually thought like they kept going for Middleton against Durant for a while, and I was like, this is obviously not working.
It was very, 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 very bizarre. As a longtime Durant guy, and as somebody who was really convinced that he is the best player in the league, and I think he's gotten a raw deal against LeBron when people talk about the best players and the head-to-head stuff, and with KD especially, like, not sound like a KD apologist, but the Warriors thing really got held against him because...
as was this Brooklyn thing. The Brooklyn thing was being held against him.
Definitely. But in 17 and 18, I think he outplayed LeBron in the 17 finals. In 18, I still thought he was the best player in the world. And then LeBron had that crazy playoff run. And it's like, I don't know. They're dead even. And then in 2019, that was the year LeBron got hurt. And it just seemed like Durant had passed him. And then Durant gets hurt. And then it flips again. And LeBron ends up winning the title with the Lakers. And now it feels like it's flipped back. He's him and LeBron, I think, are the two best players of the past 15 years by any calculation. I don't care where you're going with it. And it was always weird to me that he never got the credit. I think it was from some of the choices he made. You saw it tonight. Tonight was his masterpiece. It still doesn't mean they're going to win the series. Just FYI.
No, but like I was kind of struck by, like, I hate to say this, but like I felt like Giannis was diminished a little bit in my eyes tonight watching him in comparison to KD. I know they have different games and I know they do different things. But even the fact that Giannis wasn't guarding him, I was just kind of like, take a shot at that. Like, take a shot at Giannis getting out there on him. And just like, I don't know what they were like. Were they saving Giannis for like offense? But there was a way in which like Durant kind of separated himself from the crowd tonight that I thought was really special.
Yeah. And if you're a Bucks fan, we might as well do this now. First of all, if that was the Celtics, I would not have been able to tape the podcast. I would be catatonic.
I was wondering about
Blair Witch turned against the wall, just staring at nothing for days. I just like...
They would have to take the locker room you did and bury it underneath the earth like it was like from Chernobyl.
They're up 74-57.
Yeah.
And Harden's been a complete zero. He's done nothing. He looks like me the last year I was playing pickup. Like he's going 40% speed, doesn't want to guard anybody. And it was just kind of weird that they were playing him. And that's when I started making my weird game 5 list, because I thought we were going to remember this as the Harden game. Like, why the fuck did they play James Harden game? Like literally pick any player in that roster and he would have been more effective. And then here's what happens. Comes out of a timeout, commercial. Inbounds play. For some reason, nobody's guarding Blake Griffin. He hits a wide open 3. Comes back down, Middleton scores. KD gets a coast-to-coast layup. Giannis has a little 8-foot turnaround miss. Jeff Green 3. Jeff Green block on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Shamet face hits a 3. All of a sudden, it's 76-68. And it was one of those uh-oh moments because it happened in like a minute and a half. So 76-68, I think, Chris, if you're a Bucks fan, that's the moment, right?
Yeah.
That's where you're not swallowing anymore. There's no saliva in your mouth. You're just going, oh God. And they cut to Bud on the sideline and you're like, oh God.
Right.
Oh God, here we go. But the thing you talked about Giannis being diminished, this was the rub with him, right? Where it's like, what happens in a game that could basically decide your season and you're trading baskets with one of the best players in the league and you can only go 1 of 2 from the free throw line every time? Which is exactly what happened tonight. The reason that the Nets had the 1-point lead with 30 seconds left was because Giannis couldn't make 2 free throws in a row. And the Nets knew it. They had a couple really smart fouls of him where it's like, fine, go get your 1 and 2. We're going to outscore you. It's tough.
There was just like a perfect storm of all of them being bad at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was like a little while there, I think late in the 3rd, maybe early in the 4th, I'd have to look, but it was like Middleton like threw a couple of counters and they like, it would be like down to 8. And then I think he would get it up to 11 or something like that. But like between Holiday and Giannis, it just seemed like their spirits vacated their bodies for the last 20 minutes of that game, like time wise.
And we don't know how loud and crazy it was there, but
it seemed pretty intense.
Pretty intense. Listen, there were a lot of crimes against basketball by the Bucks, and I was listening to Zach and Van Gundy today, and Zach was like, I thought during Game 4, that might be it for Coach Bud. Mm-hmm. And Van Gundy did this whole speech, which I thought was very noble about. They always want to change the coach, they blame the coach, but everyone wants to be the Spurs and the continuity and the whole thing, and it was good. He kind of talked me into it. And then I watched today and I'm like, there's no way Coach Bud comes back. This is one of the worst coaching jobs I've ever seen. You have James Harden who can't move or run. And there's moments like there was a moment with 3 minutes left when Harden got switched on him and he took him down the low post. He ends up doing like a fadeaway turnaround. What
he
the fuck
waved
was that?
off Shamit's double because he knew he could. He was like, the only thing Giannis is going to do is do this shot, this turnaround. And I got him. And it's James Harden. James Harden was getting turnstyled earlier in the game.
There was a lot of stuff like that where you're just like, why aren't they targeting Harden? Why aren't they making a move? Why aren't they making moves? Because the Nets were just like, cool, we'll put him on PJ Tucker.
Right.
KD was hotter than the sun.
So
PJ Tucker wasn't stopping anything. Just take PJ Tucker out.
The trade-off there, it's like, okay, well, PJ's a 0 on offense, but he can guard KD. And then when KD starts catching fire, don't you eventually just say like, well, then let's just make them pay for it down at the other end. Let's just trade body blows. And instead they're like, no, we're going to have PJ barking at KD the entire game, but essentially get like vaporized. And then like they can hide Harden out on him in the corner. And this Bucks thing where they would rather pass to a fire hydrant for an open 3-pointer than take the game to the net. And there was like, they just don't rebound. I guess I haven't watched the Bucks enough, but do they not do any offensive rebounding? Are they that?
They had 4. Yeah, they had 4 today. They give it up because they try to get back on defense. When you said Tucker was a 0, literally he was a 0. He had 0 points. Listen, there were a lot of crimes in this game from Milwaukee from a strategy standpoint, from not using timeouts. Once you have a lead like that and you're on the road,
did
you
anybody
can't let the
feel
other team get momentum.
When Bud challenged that Brooke Lopez James Harden foul?
Yeah, well,
was anybody like,
how
that's
was
a great challenge?
Yeah,
Do you
good
think
one.
that guy is going to be like, you know what, Harden did armbar him. I've decided to see the light and flip that. That was never going to happen.
Well, and also like, you take Tucker out, put in, I don't know, Bryn Forbes.
Sure.
And just be like, all right, Harden, you're going to have to guard somebody who can create a shot now. And we're going to do something. We'll put you in picks. Like, we'll do anything. He didn't really have to do anything at all. And then on the other end, it's like, why aren't they pressuring him full court? He was so clearly from the first 20 seconds, you could see like he can't run. He is going to jog through this game, and he's such a brilliant basketball mind. He's going to figure out how to do it. He had no lift. He had no legs. He wasn't able to go to the basket. I think he had 3 free throws, and they were all like, but I just like that part was amazing to me. And then
no
the
doubling.
way they, and then not doubling Durant
just
to me is
Joe
criminal.
Harris or Jeff Green beat you like that.
Joe Harris hasn't made a shot in 3 games. Make anybody else beat you. What? Durant's hotter. Durant's NBA Jam flames coming out of his head.
Yeah, I think it's tough because like you get to the end of the game and you want to be just like, this is a pure act of like basketball poetry by Durant. But if I'm the Bucks, I'm killing myself on the way back. Like I just cannot believe I gave that one away. And you know what? This playoffs, 20 points. It doesn't seem to be a lead anymore. Like, you know what I mean? It just feels like teams have been jumping on teams in the first quarters and getting up big, and then that team just gets slowly pulled back. It actually felt like this was the game plan for the Nets. It actually felt like no matter how bad the bleeding gets, as long as we're living in the third quarter, mid-third quarter, we have this guy who can single-handedly win the game no matter how far down we are. And that crowd got into it. That crowd did not abandon them. And so I'm kind of impressed because I was like, I've been making fun of Brooklyn fans and stuff like that. It's just because I'm just like, the day ones from like 6 months ago. Yeah. But like they actually did lift that team up.
It was impressive. I would have played Giannis's brother over PJ Tucker.
He was probably too tired from celebrating Giannis's like.
It was crazy. Moves. So just so it doesn't sound reactionary, I watched the halftime show with Barkley and those guys.
Yeah.
They were killing the coaching at halftime. They were like, what are these guys doing? They should be up by 30 points. And Barkley was saying, I think they're going to win the title, but this is the stupidest team I've ever seen. This is before all the stupid shit happened.
This is when they were up 20.
First quarter.
Yeah, they were up 20.
They were looking good. And they're like, wow, this is some of the dumbest stuff I've watched. I just will never understand when you have somebody who's compromised, how you don't use that against the team. And in Harden's case, it's like, this guy can't move. Every other basketball game we watch, they find the weak link, and it's like the deer in the wilderness where the pack comes and hunts the deer and takes it down.
That's all playoff basketball is.
Yeah, you're just hunting dudes. So how do they not figure out a way to hunt Harden?
Because they had PJ Tucker out there who scored 0 points.
Right. maybe that was part of the problem. Well, there was a moment when they took him out and they had Connaughton out there, and I don't even know who the fifth guy was.
It was Connaughton and it was Giannis,
Lopez.
Middleton, Lopez, Connaughton, and Drew. Yeah.
Well, the other thing was there were moments when Harden would get switched on to people, and there was never this light bulb moment where the guy would go, "Oh, James Harden's on me. I should just go buy him. He can't. He's playing on one leg." Yeah.
No, and I don't feel like the Bucks ever really got. I mean, I guess to the Nets' credit, they knew when to like get into it, get out of it. But like I didn't feel like they got him running a lot. I didn't feel like they ever made Harden have to do the sprinting that's really hard on a hamstring injury, because what Harden did out there was nuts. He played on a busted hamstring for almost the entire game, but they were saying during the broadcast, like Steve Smith was saying, or Grant Hill was saying, you basically can't sit.
Right.
Like if you sit down, it's going to tighten up and you can't get back out there. And I've watched enough guys, like when they have like gamey hamstrings, it's all in the sprinting is where it pops. That's where they injure
and
it.
the hard cuts.
All he had to do was kind of lope around, and then every once in a while, he's the guy who could hit the backdoor pass to Joe Harris that Tyler Johnson could not see, that Tyler Johnson would not have made.
It didn't seem like at halftime, I was like, he shouldn't be out there. This is too much, and this game's too intense. And then I did think he navigated a little bit better in the second half. Like he wasn't as much of a liability.
Like a safety blanket for Durant. Like Durant obviously just like wanted him. Like they obviously just wanted to go down together if they were going to go down tonight. And I think his impact on the game was one of the more bizarre things I've ever seen, because clearly it provided something, but even if statistically it didn't show up at all.